YouTubers, Frank Bush here again. In this video I'm going to do a little stealth camping, and I'm going to talk about electrical systems, you know, that you can use kind of covertly while you're stealth camping out of the back of, you know, a truck and that kind of thing. I'm going to walk through how I deal with cooking food and my lighting system and how I kind of run things. So I just stopped at the local coffee shop here and grabbed myself a coffee. So I'm just going to take a few sips on this. I'll kind of change where I'm at and move to a different location. I've got to stop and pick up a few bits of food to eat as I move through the day and that kind of thing. And then we'll get this video going, yeah? All right, so like I say, I'm just going to swing over and pick up some food. And so in this video I'm going to show a few different examples of different ways that I can cook when I'm kind of mobile and in my vehicle using small amounts of power. You know, I could turn around and, if you've watched previous videos of mine, bring along kind of my more advanced solar power system where I've got inverters and all that kind of stuff. But in this video I'm going to stick primarily to low wattage use, DC power, and really have it where the system that I have, other than potentially running off of the batteries of the truck itself, the systems that I'm using to cook my food and run my lights and those types of things, I've really designed those where, yeah, I can plug them into a solar panel and charge them up and that kind of thing, but they can potentially work for up to a week on daily use without having to recharge them, you know, giving me enough time to cook food and run lights adequately over that period. So, like I say, either way, I'm just pulling up to the good old Walmart here. I'm gonna run in and grab myself some quick nibbles. So I'll cut the scenes here, and I'll kick back when I've got all that stuff and I've dealt with the mobs of the Walmart, and we'll get into the actual heart of the video and kind of how I go about cooking and all that kind of stuff, yeah? All right, well, I survived the mob in Walmart, and I figured I'd just stop and kind of show you of what I got for food for the day here. So I know I'm not a brand snob, I'm not sponsored by any of these people or any of that business. This is just me trying to get through my day. So I managed to get a garlic chicken skillet meals. These are frozen. And I grabbed some vegetable garden stag chili and then some Silverado stag chili for later. And I'll blend these two together, you know, gotta have my vegetable intake and all that happiness. But this will be my dinner, this will be my lunch, and I got this frozen meal because I wanted to show you this unit right here. So this is a 12 volt Road Pro cooker. So this is a really simple unit. These things are fairly cheap. They come with little 15 amp inline fuses, and they plug right into a cigarette lighter. So, you know, you can't get much more basic than this. Now, inside my container, I already threw in an aluminum tray just to keep the mess to a dull roar. But I want to get this started, this lunch started, because like I say, it's going from frozen. And typically, I don't like to run this Road Pro. Sorry. I'm still recovering from a cold, so some of my words come out a little marbled, but such is life. But I don't normally like to run this unit cooking food and that kind of thing. I don't normally like to do that if the truck is stopped. So, you know, I like to get this going early on. Oh, there's a bit left. I'll probably throw that into the stew pot later. That goes with the chili, but that's fine. Either way, that's a fairly significant portion. So needless to say, I just throw it in these little aluminum containers to kind of keep the mess to a dull roar. You know, these are disposable and that kind of thing. But I simply close the lid, lock it down, and as soon as I start my truck up, I'm just stopped in a bit different parking lot from the Walmart that had a bit better lighting so you guys could see this a little easier. But that's the thinking really, is I'm going to drive to a different location. That's, you know, when you're doing stealth truck camping and that kind of stuff, you don't necessarily want to stay in heavy populated areas and that kind of stuff. You know, I stopped at the Walmart to get some food and that kind of thing. But generally speaking, if you can find quieter areas to kind of move into to spend your day, where you're not endlessly driving around wasting gas, you know, especially with the price of gas nowadays, it's enough to, you know, forfeit your next 5 generations of grandchildren just to get a full tank. But either way, you know, you want to kind of be mindful of how much money you're expending as you move through time. You know, one of the realities is quite often often of people doing stealth camping and that kind of thing is they're stuck in an economically compromised situation and they're trying to save money. So, you know, it's get your food. Foods like these types of things are really simple to cook. You know, if you're getting cutting boards and fresh produce and all that kind of stuff all the time, it tends to be more expensive. You're having to shop more often and all that kind of thing. If you're looking at doing stealth camping, you know, even having a couple days worth of canned food and that kind of stuff can help offset you having to travel as much and go into heavily urban areas. So either way, I wanted to get this meal up and running. It's probably going to take about an hour and a half, 2 hours. I'm going to drive to a more remote location. And like I say, I don't like having these things plugged in to the vehicle while I'm, you know, not driving, because I don't want to come back and have it where my batteries are dead and all that kind of stuff, right? I do have an alternative cook system that I'm going to be using later on for doing the dinner meal, but I wanted to show this one, you know, first off, just for simplicity's sake. Like I say, I think these things are only $45, maybe $50 units. You know, I'm talking Canadian dollars because I'm up in Canada, you know, but it'll be roughly the equivalent down in the States and that kind of thing. They're cheap units, commonly available. You can find them in a lot of trucker stops and those kinds of things. But either way, I'm going to get this going. I'll drive to the next location where it's a little quieter and I'm not in the downtown urban area. You know, I've got a little bit of kind of an area that I can stop and do things, and I'll start to show you some more stuff on the video, yeah? So yeah, that's one of the good things about these 12-volt Road Pro ovens that I'm using here in this example, is that while you're driving you can be cooking, you know. Having it plugged into your cigarette lighter and in a lunchbox equivalent, if you will, makes it really really simple and easy to be cooking while you're going. One of the things about stealth camping is always discretion, right? You want to be the gray man and unnoticed in every way possible. So, you know, I just thought I'd kind of mention the fact of it is kind of a key aspect of the fact that while you're driving down the road, you're cooking your meal for your next stop kind of thing. I just thought I'd comment on that as I was heading to a place that I can kind of stop and take a break, if you will. And we're getting close to about the half-hour mark where I can turn around and stir and mix up the meal to kind of make sure it's evenly cooking as I go. And so I just thought I'd kind of stop and make comment through the GoPro as I'm kind of driving down the road here. But for the next scenes, I'll stop and I'll show you where it's at roughly the half-hour point, and when I stir it and stuff, of how far along the cooking is, yeah? So as a little scenic shot, this is the first location I plan on stopping at. I'm only part way to kind of the area that I want to go into when it comes to the stealth camping and stuff. I knew that the drive would take me about an hour and a half or so, so I'm really trying to take my time just so I can cook off this meal with the Road Pro here. So I'm not in a big rush. I wanted to show this as an example, and it's cooking from the frozen food like I am is kind of a worst case scenario. So, but either way, as you can see, got a beautiful little view here where I can kind of stop. There's a half decent amount of vehicles and stuff, but a lot of people are out just walking along the beach. It's a good quiet place where potentially I could stop in this location for multiple hours without anybody saying anything or having any suspicions to what you were doing, you know? Then that's one of the key things you want to find when you're doing stealth camping and that kind of stuff. Of it's fine and dandy at nighttime, you know, you want to find yourself a covert little place and stuff that nobody's going to know you're sleeping in the back of your vehicle, and yet you still have all the creature comforts and all that kind of stuff. But the same is true in the daytime, you know, being the gray man where nobody's asking any questions, nobody has any suspicions that you might potentially be living out of your vehicle, you know, any of those kinds of things. You don't want anybody, you know, to know really. Now, if it's really none of their business, and as soon as people find out that that's the case, all of a sudden you're having to change locations and you're facing issues. So, you know, like I say, to stop in an area like this where, you know, it's nice and quiet, I've got a half decent amount of time where I can sit here without anybody questioning. And one of the reasons why I stopped here is while this meal's cooking, I'm going to switch over and show you guys a few other items and kind of make comment about those as well. And I'm just waiting for a clear patch for the clouds to move on. It was quite sunny earlier and I wanted to kind of show that with better lighting and that kind of stuff, but we'll see, you know, I mean, fate is fate, right? But either way, I'll kind of cut the scenic view here and I'll switch over and show you how far along this GoPro meal is, or sorry, the Road Pro meal is. So like I say, we're at the half-hour mark roughly. I'm not expecting this to be cooked at all, but we're, you know, getting there slowly but surely. Hopefully you can hear the sizzling there. Try to move the camera closer if I can. Hopefully it's picking that up. So it tells me that things are slowly cooking away in there. You know, the top has still got a lot of frozen chunks and that kind of thing, which is expected, you know. But you can hear the sizzle underneath as I kind of rotate things. So it's always a good sign. Now, and realistically, I wouldn't want to use this to cook a meal like this unless I knew that I was traveling for a good hour and a half, 2 hours and that kind of stuff, right? Now, if you're in a city and you're not traveling much, you're going to end up having your vehicle idling on a regular basis. I'll just close that back up to keep the heat in. But you're going to end up traveling on a regular basis just to cook your food. Like I say, I've got more advanced systems than this that I've shown in lots of previous videos where, you know, I don't have to go off my cigarette lighter. I could easily plug into my batteries and those types of things. But the example that I brought along today for this is to show kind of simple, lower level, cheaper, you know, common man stuff that doesn't cost, you know, it doesn't break the bank to be able to afford these things, you know. But these are very common units. Like I say, these 12 volt Road Pros, you can get them on eBay or Amazon or any of that kind of stuff. They're readily available units. They, you know, there's tons of them out there in the world. But I really, like I said in this video, wanted to kind of show, you know, kind of this most basic form, because quite often, you know, a lot of people, if they're living out of their vehicles and that kind of stuff, they're just looking for any way that they can get by. And at 40 or 50 bucks to have this thing, it could be a really solid option for you moving forward, and at least being able to create yourself hot meals as you go through the day. So I'll keep on with my drive though, because I'm still not in the town. I'm actually going on to a different town. I want to be a little adventurous and do some stealth camping in a town. I've done a lot of stealth camping in the city I'm in. Then I want to move to a location in a different town where I haven't done as much stealth camping out in that area, and kind of want to do it just for my own, you know, entertainment sake, if you will. So either way, I'll get back on the highway, and it'll be about another half hour or so. So we'll see where this is at around roughly the 1 hour mark. Yeah. All right, fellow YouTubers, well, I had to pull off the highway because the traffic was bad and it slowed me down a bit. And we're at about the an hour and 5 minute mark, and about an hour and 10 minutes maybe. So hopefully you guys can hear that. Definitely making a lot more noise than it was at the half hour mark. And like I say, sorry about the shoddy camera work, but I am just in my truck. But I just wanted to stop and give it a stir. I'm still not at the location that I wanted to get to. But let me just see here. Yeah, things are already starting to get pretty warm in this meal. So like I say, just kind of give it a bit of a stir. Yeah, you can see a bit of steam coming off that. Hopefully the camera's picking that up. I know the camera's not the best at picking up steam, but either way, like I say, I'm well on my way to my destination zone. So I should be there in about 15 minutes, 20 minutes maybe tops. So I'll just slap the lid back on this and keep it going. Just coming into the town that I want to get into, and as you can see, the traffic is just entertaining at best. But there's a grocery store and that kind of stuff just up ahead on the right here, and there's one on the left. Got some parking lots and that kind of stuff, so I'll probably stop in one of the two locations there and kind of make further comment. I was really hoping that it was going to be sunnier out at this location. Unfortunately it's not, but either way, I know I haven't been the most clear in my talk in this video. I just recovering from Big Rona for the second time now, so I'm a little bit still kind of staggered in how I feel a bit, but that's okay. Either way, we'll push on. I just want to find a parking lot where I can stop and kind of eat this now, this food that I've cooked now. I'm starting to get hungry, and I think we're really close to having this thing fully cooked. Yeah, we're at the hour and a half mark, so yeah, hopefully the camera caught all that steam. it's piping now. So that's pretty well cooked. Now, this bag of the skillet meal that I got is supposed to be for 2 people. But you know, I'm a 220-pound guy. I'm not shy about eating, so I don't mind having 3/4 of that package to myself. But let me just see here. Take a quick little nibble. And hopefully you can see on the camera. Yeah, there's a pile of steam coming off that bad boy. Oh yeah, that's hot. So, one way or the other, I got some salt packets sitting here. And I'm going to stop and just eat this because I'm hungry. And that's the way it's got to be. And like I say, I'll just kind of show that package again one more time of, to give you an idea of, it was 624 grams. There's still a little bit left in the package, but I used the better part of that. So, you know, that cooked off, you know, within reason, we'll call it a pound of food. And that was right from frozen. So, you know, when it comes to being able to cook, I know that stuff is pre-cooked, so I'm not overly worried about the timing. To me, it's just get it hot enough that I know it's good, right? But if I was cooking, say, chicken or anything else, you know, right from raw, and I knew that there were, you know, wasn't pre-cooked to begin with or any of that shenanigans, I definitely want to make sure that it sat within this unit for a good solid 2 hours. You know, if you're out in the field, you don't want to take any risks. You want to make sure things are, you know, in essence, things can be overcooked a bit, and that's okay, right? Like, you know, if you end up getting sick from salmonella or something and you're 100 miles away from anything, that could be a bad scene for you. I know this video, I'm talking a lot about stealth camping, and it's kind of implied that that's happening in urban environments, but quite often I'll crash out in the back of my truck when I'm going to do like a bushcraft video or that kind of thing. I'll get off work and head out right as I, you know, as soon as I finish work, I'll just hit the road and start going. Then I'll end up doing this kind of thing where I cook dinner and stuff the night before, and then I won't start filming for the full length, you know, video that I'm going to do on the bushcraft. I won't even start filming that until first thing the next morning. But, you know, I want creature comforts, but if I'm crashed out in the middle of nowhere in the back of my truck where I want lights and I want those types of things, when you're in urban environments, you know, you got to be more kind of covert, more stealth about things and make sure nobody knows where you are, or, you know, you're really being the gray man. When you're out in the, you know, back 40 in the middle of nowhere, you don't have to worry about that. I can jump into the back and put up a full lighting system and run tablets and, you know, cook off my food and all sorts of stuff, and that way I've got a lot of energy for the next day when I go to do these videos. Yeah, but I'll cut it here, I'll eat, and then I'll cut back to other things that I definitely want to talk about. I don't want to just make it about this, you know, 12 volts Road Pro cooker. I don't want this whole video to be about that. It just took a fair amount of time, so it kind of, you know, took up a chunk of the video. But like I say, I'll stop, I'll eat, I'll stop rambling, and I'll cut back with other content. Yeah. All right, well, that was absolutely fantastic. Like I say, I'm a 220-pound guy, so I'm not the smallest guy in the world, and I finished that off and I'm stuffed. This unit will definitely cook a full meal for somebody my size without question, just so you're aware, right, of kind of the volume and scope of what you can do with this type of gear, right? But either way, I'll cut over to the next scenes because there's some other things I want to talk about. You know, when you're stealth camping, you've got food is a concern, water's a concern, you know, shelter, where you're going to sleep. It's all the same as when you're out in the wilderness as it is when you're in the city. Of you got food, water, shelter, and fuel, you know, of how are you powering everything. So, you know, I want to kind of touch points on each one of those. I also want to talk about something that very, very few people talk about in these types of videos, and that's how do you deal with defecation, right? How do you deal with kind of number one and number two, if you will. So I'm going to talk about the 2-bottle method, and this primarily is for when you're, you know, off grid and you're out in the bush and that kind of stuff, where it applies more. You know, if you're in urban environments, you normally have access to bathrooms and that kind of stuff more readily available than you would when you're out in the back 40. But I'll touch base on this because I don't know if it's common knowledge to a lot of people, and to me it might be a handy thing if you know, you find yourself in a situation where there isn't any toilet paper available, but you don't want to be a savage animal about things. So let me cut angles and set up the camera on a tripod and that kind of stuff, and I'll touch base again. Yeah, I'll just make comment, I guess, of if you've watched previous videos of mine, you might have seen this before. Normally I like to carry around, you know, 5 US gallons, which is about 20 liters of water. You know, when you're out in the middle of nowhere, off-grid situations, you definitely want to have a good potable water supply that's readily available at any given point in time. And so I keep ample water with me. It's just kind of one of the things I like to do. You know, obviously if I'm in an area where I don't have any water, that kind of thing, of I have to harvest it and filter it and all that kind of stuff. But I want to talk about primarily, like I say, I know it's breezy and there's traffic around me. I am in an urban environment. I'm just in a parking lot in the town that I'm in. But I want to talk about kind of the 2-bottle method, if you will. So, you know, you have 1-year bottles is for, you know, number one, if you will, when you're sitting in the cab of the truck or you're in the back of the vehicle and you don't want to get out. You know, when it comes to if you're a lady, they have female products that are like a plastic penis, if you will. I don't know of a better way to describe it, that you can kind of put to your lady bits, and it allows you to pee in bottles. And that kind of is the most elegant way to stealthily deal with number ones when you're doing stealth camping out of a vehicle. You know, it is a bit easier for men than it is for women, I'm not gonna lie, but there is products available on eBay. I can't remember the exact name of them because, you know, I'm not a woman, but there is products that are available that allow women to pee in bottles, just as a kind of note. And then I'll talk about the second bottle, because this one's kind of the more interesting of the two. So, like I say, I've really just got a normal pop bottle like you get at any gas station or anything else. And what I've done was I took a hot pin and I popped a little tiny hole in that. Hopefully the camera's seeing that. Let me see. Hopefully the camera's picking that up. It's only really just a small, tiny little hole. All I did was heat the pin up with a lighter and just kind of set it in, right? And the thinking really is, if you know what bidets are, bidets is a way to use a water supply rather than toilet paper to clean your bottom after you've gone to number 2, if you will. So, you know, if you're in a scenario where you're a long way away from any toilet paper and you're not wanting to use leaves or ferns and those types of things that are in the environment around you, you know, this is really kind of the simplest improv bidet that you could make. So I'll shift camera angles and just show you kind of how to use this and the amount of water pressure that comes out of it and that kind of thing, yeah? So like I say, I know that this doesn't necessarily apply to urban environments quite as much as it does to when you're out in the backcountry and that kind of thing, but it's still useful knowledge to know. You know, I mean, even if you're in an urban environment and you're in some kind of remote area and you have no access to a bathroom and it's 3 in the morning, yeah, you might have to go into the bushes, dig a little hole and do what you have to do. You know, it's the nature of life. These types of topics aren't necessarily the most elegant to talk about, but all you really do is fill up your water bottle, you put the lid back on, and you hold it upside down and kind of, you know, aim it at your bits, if you will. And when you squeeze the water bottle, you can see there's a significant amount of pressure that's formed. Hopefully the camera's picking that up okay. And it gives you the ability to kind of, you know, wash off your bits, if you will, if toilet paper isn't an option. You know, even when Big Rona was rolling through town and there was toilet paper shortages and everything, you know, these types of things could easily be used even in your own home if you were desperate and you didn't have a toilet paper stock, if you will, because it just wasn't available in the stores. So I just thought I'd share this because, you know, when you're out in the backcountry and stuff, every once in a while I'll forget the toilet paper and be like, damn, you know. But normally I have pop bottles kicking around my truck because, you know, I do a lot out of my truck, so there's stuff in it. But it's not hard for me to turn around and just pop a little hole in a pop bottle and do what I have to do to kind of keep myself, you know, hygienically clean and all that kind of business when I'm out in the field, right? So, like I say, I'll see if I can shift camera angles one more time and get a really good angle on how hard this sprays, and then I'll move on to other topics, yeah? Like I say, getting the angles for these things is never the most elegant task, but one way or the other I'll attempt to give this justice. So hopefully you can see that gives a good spray of water, and a bottle even this size is definitely enough where, you know, if you've got some stuff on your bottom and you need to get it dealt with, this will do that job for you, right? You know, it's one of those things, if it's not a long-term solution, but normally pop bottles are readily available and they're easily to find, you know, easy to find and that kind of stuff. And like I say, it really is just as simple as putting a little pinhole into a pop bottle. So one way or the other, I'll kind of cut it at this, move on to other topics within the video, and kind of shift angles a bit here. I don't need that in there for right now, so I don't like having stagnant water sitting, but especially when it's got pinholes in it, right? But one way or the other, I'll move on to more kind of palatable topics, if you will. Okay, so one of the other things that I wanted to kind of mention was the power supply I'm going to be using to kind of run my lighting system. Now, I've shown full details of exactly how I built this system out, and really I don't need it to be sitting in the sun. As you can see, one of the lights is already green, tells me that one of them's already sees the batteries as full. But if you're kind of curious to how I've done this lighting system, it's all USB lighting based. That I did detailed videos on my channel on this, but as you can see, they can easily just sit on the back of my truck, so I can discreetly kind of park somewhere where it's quiet, aim them at the sun, and take a charge. Yeah, I just wanted to kind of show that in this video of one way or the other. Yeah, you can see a second light is lit up now as green. That like I say, my batteries were fully charged, so I wasn't overly concerned about kind of charging them up, but I wanted to show that this level of example. So these are two independent 30-watt solar panels that fold up, and like I say, I do a full detailed video on these and all the aspects of them, but in essence this gives you 60 watts worth of power. And when it comes to the battery and its lighting system, I can run just off this battery right here. It's a lithium iron phosphate battery, and it's 3.2 volts at 100 ampere hour, and I can run a single USB light bulb, and you'll see that later on in the video. I can run that for 5 days and 23 hours without having to even give it a new charge. And I'm taking that time frame based on the reality that I had already used some of the charge off the battery to charge up a tablet before I even did the light bulb test. So, you know, within reason, this single battery stack here can give me lighting for a week before I have to charge it. You know, we were talking, you know, 5 days, 23 hours. That was non-stop continuous lighting. You know, when you're doing stealth camping in the back of a truck and stuff, you might have lights running for an hour or two in a night. Realistically, you could run this for weeks without having to recharge it at all. And I've got it built where you can take in regular solar panels with MC4 connections, or you can charge it via USB right off the panels like I'm doing. And you can charge it from dead to full off solar panels. I think if I remember correctly, I could do it in about 4 or 5 hours. So, you know, a single day's worth of solar energy can last you weeks and weeks, you know, if you're conservative about using your energy and that kind of stuff. And then when it comes to my other battery stack that I have sitting up in here, that'll be for cooking food in a different way with, where I've done a video on all the different components and that kind of stuff too. So if you guys are kind of curious, you know, if you're watching this video and you haven't seen a lot of my other videos, if you're curious to how any of these components work and how I put them together and that kind of stuff, there's videos up on my channel. Just go check them out. Yeah, but I'll cut scenes here because, like I say, the battery's fully charged and the rain's coming down a little bit. You can see some on the panels and that. And I'll go on to talking about other things. I might even go for a cruise around this area because I really don't know this town very well. So I might go and kind of, while the lighting's still good, kind of scope out some good locations for where I am going to do stealth camp later on. Yeah. So I've never been here before at all, ever. And I just kind of stumbled upon this little zone, so I decided to jump out of the truck and do a little peek to see what was going on down here. So I thought I'd just kind of add this into the video of Looks like a little boardwalk area. So I'll cut scenes here and then I'll kick back if I see a good open view that looks like it'll be good for the camera, yeah? So yeah, looks like it opens up into like a boardwalk area to get a view over the zone. Pretty impressive, really. Looks pretty solid out here. Like I say, I've never even been here. Didn't even know this existed. It's only about an hour and a half from my house. It's one of the joys of living in the zone I live in. Well, either way, get back to the vehicle and get back to the focus of the stealth camping in the truck. Alright, well, like I say, I don't really know this town that well, so I'm just kind of driving around looking for a quiet place where I can park. And sorry, I know I might sound a bit winded on the camera. I'm coming up the hill from that park I was just at. This big Rona, like I said, the first time around I had long COVID and it lasted 10 months. And I only just am recovering from this one, so I'm still pretty winded doing even minor tasks at this point. It's unfortunate, but either way, like I say, I'm just looking for a quiet spot where I can go and organize the back of the truck and kind of get it ready for when the sun goes down, that kind of thing, yeah? Alright, well, I drove down a dead-end road and found this little gem as well, but there's definitely no friendliness towards the overnight camping in these areas. There's signs all over the place of no camping or overnight parking and all that kind of stuff. That I've seen about 30 or 40 of those signs as I've kind of looked down the quieter back roads that are near ocean views. I was really hoping to kind of find a place to stealth camp where I had a sweet view out the window out over the ocean, but I don't know if that's going to be a likely scenario. Either way, the hunt continues. Alright guys, so I found a kind of quiet little spot to stop. So I just parked here in this little parking lot. There's a collision auto body repair shop here, and town is literally just back out that way. So I'm only about a 5-minute, not even drive, and you can see this is kind of a blind little zone. These guys aren't going to be in here all weekend. That's just, they won't work on a Sunday, I know that. So either way, this is a good spot for me to kind of stop, and it doesn't even look that sus. So as you can see, it's a bit of a show back here. So normally, just so you're aware, normally when we get down to the end of the night, the water and the cooking technology get moved up to the cab, where in behind I've got seats in behind my driver's seat and the passenger seat. I can put the battery back in behind the passenger seat and just put the water up front, and that way it kind of clears out and gives me more room to kind of live and have space in the back. I also have my walled tent and the titanium stove back in there and that kind of stuff. If I am out in the bush and I want to set up kind of a full, you know, off-grid home, if you will, I've got the ability to do that on the fly. But I think what I'm going to do at this point in time, because it is a bit of a mess back here, got the tripod that I use to do the camera work and that kind of stuff, I'm just gonna stop, put up the blinds in these side windows, because I've got blinds, hopefully the clips are all still on them and stuff, but I've got to put up the blinds so it'll be less noticeable when the sun goes down and stuff. And like I say, I might even just camp out here for a while, because I've been running around all day, and just flip on some lights and chill out on the tablet and that kind of stuff. But I'll catch that on camera and kind of show you guys, you know, how much of a comfort zone you can create. One of the real key things when it comes to stealth camping out of the back of your vehicle, especially if you're living out of a vehicle, which, you know, I know there's people out there, given the economic situation in the world, there's more and more people facing that reality of, you know, yeah, you got to be stealth and covert and everything else, and it feels like the whole world's against you in a lot of ways, because they are, and that's just the nature of society. But you know, you want to create yourself a comfort zone where you can chill out and relax and kind of unwind and just forget the things going on in the world, and just give yourself a safe space that's comfortable and, you know, where you get to unwind. So needless to say, let me straighten this stuff out, and I'll create kind of a chill zone, and I might even camp out here for a bit until the sun goes down, and potentially I might even stay here overnight. If there's some bushes right here where I could pull up closer to those bushes so the vehicle's more blind and that kind of thing, but I really don't think anybody's coming into this zone. And one of the key things when it comes to stealth camping, and you might not hear this in too many other videos, is you want to park your vehicle on level terrain. You know, if you can't find level terrain, you definitely want to have your head wherever, you know, if you're sleeping in the back, like say here, you want, and your head's here, you want your head to be a little bit above your feet. You know, ideally you want to have everything level so it'll all be comfortable and smooth, just like sleeping in a bed in a home, right? But if you can't, you know, find absolutely level, try to find at least a spot where your head can be elevated above your feet. The last thing you want to have is, you know, going to sleep with your feet above your head, and when you wake up in the morning, you'll have headaches and it'll just be a bad scene. It's not good. So, you know, it's one of those little kind of experience things, if you will, of, yeah, it's worth having a flat level terrain as much as possible. And as you can see, the truck is parked on pretty level terrain. I mean, I could definitely adjust it so it'll be a little bit more level, but this really is kind of an ideal location in that regard, and it's dead quiet. The only concerning part is I'm below some 5G towers. I don't know if I'll stay in this zone, but either way, it's only an overnighter, right? But yeah, like I say, I know I'm rambling. I do that in my videos. You know, if you watched other videos of mine, it tends to happen. So I'll clean this up and then I'll cut scenes and show it to you what it looks like when it's more organized, yeah? Okay, well, I know it doesn't look much more organized than it did before. I'll open this, see if I can get a bit more light in there. And I'll kind of pan back in. So, as you can see, I've put Mylar bubble wrap where it's painted black on one side. I used like barbecue paint and just painted it black on the one side to kind of black out the side windows. And I put them in both windows. I thought it would give an insulative effect, but after having slept in here in the winter times, I don't find it really adds that much. It's probably maybe, you know, half an hour, if you know R values and those types of things. It's, you know, it's not consequential really. The one key part though is it gives ample amounts of privacy. And as you can see, you know, if I had to have two people in here, could easily have a second body. I've got the extra sleeping bag, and you know, I can improv pillows and everything, and this side's kind of a bit of a mess, but I really wasn't overly concerned about that side. And like I say, this box, you know, I'm still pretty full off of that meal I ate earlier, but you know, if I end up cooking off, which, you know, I want to fit it into the video just to be part of the plan of cook off a bit of stew, I might only do off one can and whatever was left over from that stuff, because it really was filling. But either way, this will all move up to the front of the cab, you know, once I'm done cooking and that kind of stuff. And the only thing that really will stay back here is that little lighting system. And then I've got a bag of LED lights that are sitting right here. Let's see if I can pull one of them out without it being too much of a show. It's going to be a bit of a show, like light bulbs, yeah. And then where I've put hooks on, I just crazy glued on some hooks onto the inside, so I've got places to hang things on. So potentially I could just hang the light bulb, and the LEDs run cool, so potentially I can just run the LEDs right off there and have this be like, in essence, like a mini little bedroom, if you will. And then I've got these two items, and this one only has a single clip, and that's really for this back door. There's a clip, let's see if I can get the angle in there. There's a clip right here where I can clip that one on, and it's just centered. So I simply just kind of put it up, you know, black side facing out, of course, and put it up and just clip it onto, see if I can just kind of quickly improv that, clip it onto there, and it gives like a privacy blind from the back window. You know, one of the key things is I don't want to have people directly see me sleeping, if you will, right? That's always a no-no. So, and then I've got a similar kind of thing on that window. I don't know if the camera is picking up the clips that are above. There's that kind of center window, and then there's two white clips above that. And then this other one has two clips on it. I've got to adjust the clips, but I just clip and hang it on there too, right? So I can easily pop those on and pop them off in a matter of seconds. But I don't normally put those up unless I'm kind of camped out in the back and hanging out and that kind of thing, and I want privacy. But I'll just kind of give you a glimpse of the side windows now. Just gotta close the door. But you can see if somebody nosy comes up and wants to peek in. Hopefully the camera's picking that up with justice. But I know my hair is going everywhere, the windy today, but you can't see anything really. Even here, like, that's the full sunlight coming in, right? Other than that, it just becomes this kind of black surface. And I'll pan over to the other side, just show you of, you know, with full sun shining on it, you can see a little bit of the reflection of the Mylar. But, you know, for all intents and purposes, it's blacked out. You know, and when it comes to being inside, having a light going and stuff, it's going to block the better part of that, so it's not going to be noticed. I'll try to stand back and let the sun, see if I can get the sun to kind of clean off of it. I really just need to put a fresh coat of the barbecue paint on that Mylar. Some of it started to chip off and that kind of thing, but there's, you know, good privacy blinds, if you will, right? Of just kind of black out the whole thing so nobody can be peeking in on what you're doing as you're sleeping, right? And so yeah, I don't know, I'll give it a quiet minute here, and then potentially I'll go and grab my tablet because I haven't played around for a bit, and just take a little break of, let me see what time it is now. For my time, it's 7:30 p.m. So I know I've already got 2 or 3 different locations that I've kind of eyed up. This one looks like a good one where I'm at, and normally I don't hang out in the location that I'm going to end up spending the night. That's normally a no-no. Normally, if you're going to kind of hang out and just be around and stuff, you do it in a separate location. You normally make where you bed down, you know, totally, you drive there, you go to bed, you get up and you leave. You don't hang out there at all, or as little as you possibly can, and try to get in and out of the back of the vehicle as quickly and as quietly as possible, right? That's the key when it comes to these things. But given that this is a one-nighter, I don't know, I've got to debate that in my head. But what I'll do is I'll go and hook on these black curtains in the front and the back. I'll jump in the back, put on a light, and then I'll come out and see if the light's casting out. It's still a little early to see how much light is emitting, but I'll show you kind of what the comfort zone looks like, yeah? Okay, so kind of wired up the lighting system and that kind of stuff. As you can see, the Mylar helps, right? It throws the light around. I could easily hook on, I've got other light bulbs there, I just didn't hook it in because I don't need high levels of light at this point in time, but hopefully that gives you an idea of, and like I say, as you can see, it really brightens up the space, just that one light bulb. And if I turn around and kind of look at it from the outside, we'll do this again once the sun goes down, just to show you kind of how covert it is, but it looks like nobody's in the vehicle at all. You can see the faintest little glow off that light. It's one of the reasons why I go with 3 to 5 watts. Normally I prefer 3 watts when I'm in the back of the truck, because, you know, when you're doing stealth, you don't want to have any sign that you're even there. So needless to say, this is the kind of comfort zone, and I'll hop in and show you from the inside, and I'll put up this black curtain and kind of give you an idea of the level of privacy in 2 minutes, yeah? All right, well, I'm successfully in the vehicle now, and as you can see, I put up the kind of privacy curtain on the back there. Now all my windows are tinted out to begin with, and in nighttime it gets really dark. It's hard to see into this even without having these privacy curtains up. But when it comes to the concept of stealth, you know, the stealthier the better. And then, like I say, this is one 3-watt light bulb that's giving me this level of light in here, and it's really good in that regard. I've got enough room where I can kind of sit up and adjust myself and blah blah blah. I've my tablet in here, and like I say, I've just got my little power board where if I needed to plug in USB devices and that kind of stuff, I've got my USB outputs that are sitting right here. You know, obviously if there was another person there, you'd have to adjust the setup to this, but it's all minor stuff, right? One way or the other, I just kind of, anywhere that there is a chance of having light get out, you want to kind of cover those zones as much as possible, you know. And it's not a perfect world of my bag of bulbs and other bits and bobs, I'd put up into that opening that's down in that part of the window there. And on the camera, it looks like a lot of the light is coming in through those cracks in the window, but that's not the case. It's 7:30. The sun's getting close to going down now. It's not bright out anymore. Of the primary light source in this back is this light bulb right here. And like I said, that's running 3 watts. It's nothing. It's 5 volts, and it's running about 300 milliamps off of a 100 ampere hour battery. That can run a long time before I even have to recharge this thing. So it's good in that regard. And like I say, I'm just going to kind of chill out and take a break at this point in time. I'm not really that hungry. So I was going to show the stove that I built in the last video, and just hooking that up to the battery and cooking off some chili, because I really want to kind of emphasize to people that, if you don't want to look at going with just the 40 watt basic Road Pro that I kept showing earlier in the video there, if you spend a good $100-200, bought all the parts and assembled it yourself, you could build out that cooking plate. And one of the key parts about that is it's way more efficient. Like, to give you an idea, that Road Pro there, that uses about 120-130 watts steady. So the entire hour and a half it took to cook that meal from frozen to cooked, it was using 130 watts and drawn, constant. Whereas with the stove element that I built out, it uses anywhere from 50 to 100 watts worth of power. So, it's using close to a third of the power that Road Pro is using, and it's faster. I can bring 2 cups of water up to a boil. I think in the last video, when I timed it, it was 28 minutes. And I'm at sea level, so I'm in worst case scenario. When it's up in the mountains, obviously it'll boil faster, but a boil isn't really a boil and blah, blah, blah. But I'm right down at the ocean. Hopefully you guys saw that earlier in the video of I can't be any closer to sea level than I am. So in order to get to the point where I'm able to boil off 500 milliliters or 2 cups worth of fluids, in a half hour, it makes it really, really efficient as well. So with the batteries that I have sitting in this box, like I say, I'm just not that hungry. That last meal was fairly substantial. I still feel it in my innards, if you will. But I could run the stove element off of the battery sitting in that box for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours as well before I have to give that a charge. And both of them are already wired up with these MC4 connectors, where I can easily just hook on MC4 connectors, plug them into solar panels. Oh, sorry, I know the lighting's poor. I could easily hook onto the MC4 connectors. I've got a charge controller strapped onto that box with MC4 connectors on it too. So if I brought along my flexible solar panels, which I've shown in previous videos, I could rapidly charge either one of those setups in a matter of hours, and then have it be good to go for another week again, if you will. So it's really good in that regard. And I know it takes up a bit of space, but it gives you the power supply you need to cook with and to run lights and that kind of stuff. When you're in a small environment like this, it's almost not worth. I've slept in this down to -9 Celsius in this exact kind of setup that I'm showing you guys now, and I didn't have an issue with it. I had 2 sleeping bags that I used were just 0-degree bags, and they're the ones I have here, the blue one there and the blue one here, and I was amply warm. There was no issues, and that was without having any heat or anything. I've got a little buddy heater as well that's in underneath the bed frame, if you will, that I'm laying on. I could pull that out and plug it in and bring it up to temperature if it dropped down to like 20-30 below Celsius, but it just doesn't reach that kind of level in the climate I'm in. It never gets that cold ever. So you have to really kind of take into account of the environment you're in. If you do find that the cold really is a problem, then you would want to invest more heavily in this Mylar, and Mylar the roof and everything, the bubble wrap Mylar stuff. You'd want to kind of do a complete seal of the inside space entirely to try to contain as much of your body heat that's being emitted into the space as possible. But if anything, I find the exact opposite situation ends up happening. I find my body heat ends up warming this up, and it gets quite warm in here, and I end up having to crank open the windows. Normally normally behind this blackout curtain here, I got the windows that connect through and into the front of the truck and all that, but there's a separator in between them, and normally I'm opening that up half open and hoping that I don't snore when I'm sleeping. You know, it's one of those things, but I know I'm rambling again. Either way, hopefully you guys can see the bed of my truck is 6'3", and I'm 6 foot tall, so I got plenty of room back here and that kind of thing. But I'm just going to chill. I won't bother throwing it on the video. I'm just going to plug in my tablet here and plug that in and give it a charge too. I think it's in pretty good state, and then just kind of watch a video on my tablet and that kind of stuff and chill out. And when the sun goes down, I'll show you guys kind of more detailed of what exactly this looks like from the outside to see how suspicious is this. You know, I adjusted the truck in the parking lot so it looked like I was just parked here waiting. You know, I'm in a collision auto body repair place, so it looks like I just dropped the vehicle off to get repaired for Monday morning kind of thing. It's not even suspicious in that regard. But one way or the other, I'll cut it here, and I'll cut back when the sun goes down, and I'll show you how, you know, how heaty is this light from the outside and that kind of thing, right? Because I'm sure most people want to know that. But either way, this gives me an area where I can stretch out and relax. So I was laying in the back of the truck for a bit and just kind of waiting for the sun to go down and kind of show you guys, all right, how conspicuous am I in the location I'm in. But I thought I'd jump back up into the front of the cab, because quite often, in reality, in the past, quite often I've just hung out in the front of the cab and not really gone to the back until I've laid down and gone to sleep and that kind of thing, unless I wanted to stretch out and just kind of, you know, be horizontal, if you will. But one of the good things you can do when you're kind of at this point in the day is start to be very cognizant of, right, how much traffic is happening. Is the traffic frequency substantially slowing down and that kind of stuff? You know, I've noticed that the traffic at the location I'm in, when I first got here, was probably close to twice as busy as it is now. You know, and that's to be expected. As the evening gets on, people start going home and to their families and everything else, and it just starts to really quieten off. But, you know, when I first got here, the foot traffic of people walking their dogs and other stuff was fairly significant. I saw probably maybe a dozen people in a half hour. And now I haven't seen a person walk by in the last half hour. So it's one of those things where, you know, it's good to kind of get a feel for the environment you're in. Now, normally, like I said, normally it's a golden rule that if you're going to stay in a place that, and you want to go back there in a future date, you know, that you don't just kind of hang out there when the sun's up, that people see you and everything else, because that just brings attention to you. That normally you would only show up after the sun had gone down, right before you were ready to go to bed and that kind of thing, right? But it's good if you have the opportunity like this to kind of just surveillance the environment you're in, especially if it's foreign to you, you know, and it's not familiar. I don't know this town really. It's not a place that I come to very often. I just normally drive through it heading to other places. So kind of stopping here and getting a feel for the vibe and everything else, you know, it's important to do. It gives you an awareness of what to expect, you know, at 3 a.m. kind of thing. The likelihood of, you know, what are you expecting to see? Of, you know, I've had 2 or 3 cops go flying by down this road, so I don't even know what's on this road, if it's a main artery or something that just connects 2 linkage points or whatever. I'd have to look at the map and see, but at this point in time I don't even know. But I have had 2 or 3 cops go flying by with their sirens going and stuff. You know, is that something that's going to be happening all through the evening? Is this a main run where the cops are going to do that, and because there's not a lot of people around, that could cause grief? You know, I just saw that vehicle there just had some blue and red in the back. When he turned the corner, I saw it flash. But you can hear another siren going. So I'm kind of suspect that this might be a heavy police presence area around this region. I don't know if I'd want to stay here for the long term, you know. But mind you, across the way, adjust the camera slightly here. Across the way, I can see that there's quite a substantial forested looking open field where I'm not seeing a lot of houses out that way. That might be a good place to do a bushcraft video potentially down the road. We'll see as time goes on, right? But yeah, one way or the other, well, like I say, I know I just keep rambling. I'm really just killing time at this point, waiting to see how conspicuous the vehicle looks when the sun goes down. And I'll show you guys that. And I know the GoPro starts turning crap as soon as the nighttime comes and that kind of thing. So I'll probably wrap the video up there. But hopefully, you know, if you're doing stealth camping, or, you know, you're in a situation where, you know, the cost of living has just become too much to bear and you're having to live out of your vehicle and stuff, which is, you know, happening to hundreds of thousands of people all over the place now. If that's the reality happening to you, hopefully you got something out of these videos, yeah? But like I say, I'll cut it here, and I'll cut back just to show you guys kind of how conspicuous the vehicle looks, and then I'll wrap it up, yep. Okay, so we're past sunset now. Imagine I've only got about 10-15 minutes of sunlight left. The sun's already gone down past the horizon. I'm actually surprised the camera's picking this up as well as it is. It looks brighter on the camera than it does in real life. But my thinking really is I'm going to go turn on the lights in the back in about 5-10 minutes here, and I'll turn on that light, and I'm going to turn on my tablet and just run a video and play the volume at, like, I don't know, about 50% or so, just so I can see and show you guys on the camera, hopefully, of how noticeable that is. And then I'll try to do it with my camera's flashlight on and with it off to see if that makes a difference as well, yeah? Okay guys, so like I say, it's right before the sun's going down, so you can see that light. I know the camera's not going to pick this up well because it's GoPro light, but you can see that LED light giving a faint hue through the glass, but it's fairly minimal. Like, it's fairly subdued lighting, you know, unless you get right up close. If you're 20-30 feet away, like if I backed up a bit, it's barely even noticeable. And the further back I go, obviously the less noticeable it is, but you have to get right up close to even see that, yeah, there's lights on back there. There's a weak spot right here where the crack in between the cap of my truck and the truck itself and the main body, there's a little spot I didn't black out right in here. You can see, but you got to be on a very exact angle to even see that. And then when it comes to the sides, that Mylar bubble wrap is fantastic. Like, you wouldn't even know there's lights on in there. It's just black. It's really good in that regard, right? And then I'll pan to the side here, or to the back, I mean. Now you can see where I've got the blind on the one section, and it's pretty effective. There's a few spots kind of here and here that let cracks of light through. But I've got a video playing in there, and it's on about 50% volume, and you're not really hearing it. I hear the frogs in the background over top of it, and unless I'm like 2 feet away from the vehicle, you're just not hearing it. So you can see, like, you have to be on very exact angles to see that there's even a light going. Sorry, there's a house down over there and people are partying in it. But yeah, I just wanted to show you how kind of low-key this is. And I'll see now, I don't know if the flashlight's gonna kind of add much effect to it, but even if I turn on the flashlight doesn't really make a big difference. You see, flashlight doesn't really make a big difference when it comes to the visibility of things. You're gonna see that light one way or the other, you know, but if you're just passing by, you're not gonna see that. You know, that light's not gonna be noticeable. So I know this because I've done this lots of times. And here, let me just kill my light of, this is really the main spot right here, where if someone's, you know, creeping around the truck, they're going to see that light, you know, but they have to come right to the back of the vehicle, which, as you can see, based on the road and that kind of stuff, it's kind of pointed away from that, right? So it's one of those things where, you know, it's not a perfect fit of, if I wanted to put Mylar up into these windows as well and just black everything out, you wouldn't ever even notice it. But I'll just pop this open now, and you can hear my video. You know, they got a little BTV going on, and that's at 50% volume. And like I say, I've heard the cops out here multiple times. I think I'm kind of in a main intersection. All sorts of undercover cops cruising through this area. I don't know what they're up to, but there's definitely cop activity going on, because that's about the 5th time in the last hour and a half I've heard that. So they're definitely up to something. But you can see how actually bright it is inside there now that the sun's down and stuff. You know, it throws a substantial amount of light. It's definitely enough you could read by and all that kind of stuff. Here, I'll just pause the video so it's not making any noise, but you could see the noise wasn't really the problem. It was the brightness of that light, and it really is quite a bright light. But you know, when I'm out in the woods using this kind of setup, I really don't care, because, you know what, a bear's gonna come up and start creeping around the truck. Well, you know, that's happened a few times, but it's not a big deal as long as they don't try to rip the truck apart. You know, life goes on. But you know, in a urban stealth camping situation, you wouldn't want to necessarily run lights that are this bright. You know, you'd want to run like little tiny LEDs, just enough to give you a dim glow, you know. And you can see, you could quietly watch some videos and that kind of stuff, but running bright lighting is always a problem, right? Unless you plan on entirely blacking out your windows, you know, that's going to be an issue, right? But then you get into ventilation and everything else where you want to have airflow and all that kind of stuff. So either way though, like as I know, the GoPro starts to get crappy, and we're just past 9 o'clock now. It's about 5:10 after 9 or so. So I'm probably just going to chill out, watch some videos on my tablet, and just call it a night. But if you enjoy this type of content, oh look, there's another cop. Like I say, something major is going on. I'm in a small town. This town's only about 10-15,000 people. Like, it's not a large community. So I don't even know what to say to it. But either way, if you enjoy this type of content, please like, share, and subscribe. And sorry about not cooking off an extra dinner. I'm only just starting to feel hungry now, and I'm not even that hungry, really. But I know I keep rambling. Either way, if you enjoy this type of content, please like, share, and subscribe. And thanks for watching, yeah? Cheers.